Hi, do you not think that the last 5% of the project takes like 90% of the time? Yeah, this is that. In this video there's videos from like 6 month period or maybe 7 months, but this is the video that you have been waiting. We will start this NA project engine for the first time in this video. So yeah, let's go with it.
We will start this video by replacing the AC condenser that I managed to destroy when I took out the old engine. This wasn't fun thing to swap out because even though it looks like it comes out here, it actually doesn't. I needed to take out the bumper and the blower fan and everything, and I was wise enough to of course get the cheapest one of these AC condensers, so of course it didn't fit at all, so that wasn't fun thing to do, but that's now done, so we can continue with the engine. So I think first of all, because we can now basically drop in the radiator, so let's put on the accessories and then the radiator. And for that I also have lots of stuff here, so we should get this pretty much done. So for the alternator we need to swap out this pulley here, because this ATI damper, this is bigger than the original pulley there is on the damper, so it will spin the water pump and everything faster. That's not that much of a problem, but with high RPM the alternator can overheat, so that's why I have this bigger pulley for the alternator. This is also from MRT Engineering, and this should fit the Bosch alternators. This one here, so we can swap in this and this alternator should be fine. I did also buy this used power steering pump. This came with the warranty and everything. This has a pulley that is fine, and hopefully this is quiet one, but at least it has warranty, so that's something. I need to swap out these hoses and everything, but this should fit in this purpose. I then have some other bits and pieces and power steering lines and intakes and stuff, so let's get to work. The belt is now on, the power steering is there, alternator is there. I did also throw in the AC bracket there, and I tried to install the AC compressor, but the bolts that I had for the compressor, they won't fit there, and then the bolts that came with the compressor, they are busted, so I need to get different kinds of bolt for these, so this is now just loosely here. I did need to space out this tensioner here because it was hitting the damper, but I already know that I need to use the 1 pk narrower belt for the AC because it would hit damper otherwise, but even like E60 and those things, they already use that kind of belt, so I think that's fine. I need to make some kind of pulley here at some point, but that will come later. So yeah, I think now I can throw in the radiator and go on from there. I did clean out all the dead bugs and everything there, and I also had spare expansion tank, so I did swap out this because the old one was bowed out like like that, and it was crusty and yellow and everything. So yeah, that's still the original radiator for this car, but it's still quite okay for the age, so I will use that. But yeah, let's throw that in and let's see what we can do. Okay, power steering lines. E36 has this cooling loop that is mounted on the steering rack down there, and it has very short hose to that oil reservoir that is mounted on the engine mount, and of course when you move the reservoir up here, you cannot use that short hose, so I decided to cut off the short hose and put longer hose here, but I did actually cut this tube also here while doing that. I could of course try to weld that, but we had already new one of these, so there's new cooling loop there, and I did put this longer hose to that one, and there's also that kind of restriction on the line, so that's also in the new line, so this is just universal hose here, so we can throw this away. Then the line from the pump to the steering rack, this one here, in the E36 both of these ends, in the older E36 both of these ends are M14, but I now have the E39 power steering pump, so it's actually same one in the newer E36s, but the difference is that the other end it's M16 and not M40, and I thought I did order the correct hose, but this has the M14 on both ends, so this is not going to work. I then also ordered another one that was supposed to be for the newer E36 that has the M16 on the one end, but it didn't have that, so I did kind of give up at that point, and I did just weld on this M16 bunch bolt here, and I think that looks fine, so that will work. So this should now bolt here in the E36 with the E39 power steering pump, and again that power steering pump is also available in the E36 too, in the newer ones. The hose from the reservoir to the pump, this is just E46 and E39 dual vanus version, so this is just bolt on here, not special in that. It should actually go around here, but this cooling duct here is preventing that, but it's fine, it will work like that.
Ei varmaan näin päin.
Häh?
Ei varmaan näin päin laiteta.
Toimihan tuo noinkin.
No vittu, ottaa se hylsy kiinni.
No joo. Toimii noinkin päin.
No joo, mutta...
I'm not 100% sure where all my video material went at this point, but we are still missing the smaller coolant hoses to connect this engine to the car. I did really only find this picture of the first iteration of that. I did buy few cheap hoses that had the quick connects in them, and I used one fitting with piece of hose to connect the rear pipe to the heater valve. Then for the heater core return, I used some universal hose pieces, extensions and T-piece to connect that to the other plastic line from the engine to the radiator tank. But I didn't like how all that looked like. Change of plans, like I said, I don't like this monstrosity that I did create here. I think this looks really ugly, even though it will stay under the intake. But my friend said that he used some kind of X5 hose for this. He didn't remember the number, but of course I was working on my own X5 and I did notice that what hose that was. So it is this one. So this is just the hose from the heater core to the radiator in E53 X5, and I think this fits pretty much perfect. And once again, change of plans. Let's ignore these at the moment and focus on these ones. So these are new cams from a guy called Arton Young. I think he's my subscriber and he really wants to see this engine make 300 horsepower. So he sent me these cams. These should be exact copies of the most aggressive strict cams that are the most aggressive ones that you can get for these dual bonus engines. So I think this intake is like 272 degrees and this exhaust is 256 degrees or something like that, and there's a lot of lift on the intake side at least. Let's take these off the backs. Yeah, so these look like this. So these are actually new cams. These are not regrinds. I think they say that these are billet cams, but well, I think there's like some kind of casting that these are made of. But anyways, these are not regrinds. These are much heavier than the stock cams because these are not hollow. And I think that he had like the stick cams that these are copied from, and he measured those exactly, and these are like 1-to-1 copy of those stick cams, so this could be just fine for this. These are still prototype cams because I think he's going to make like run of these that you can buy, so you can contact him if you want a set. And I think he said that this will be like half of the price of the strict cams, so really good deal if he can get these made. Unfortunately, because this is a prototype run, there's a mistake in this exhaust cam, so this is missing some material here. I have no idea what has happened here. Like it's like millimeter less than this slope. So because of that, I cannot really use this exhaust cam. But anyways, I think the exhaust cam I have, it has even more duration than this one has. So that will be fine. But this intake cam, this has way more duration. I think this has like more than 10 degrees duration than my current cam, and like half millimeter more lift than the current intake cam. So this will be a really good upgrade for the engine. So I think let's swap out the current intake cam and swap this in. The new cams didn't come with this Bendix gear here, so I'm taking this from the stock cam that this B28 engine had. Somebody seems to have already made this to spiral torques, but I hope this will hold. Yeah. put this back here, not back here, to this cam, and I didn't find a titanium torque for this bolt on the BMW this, but this is to be normal M10 thread, and I think this is like hardened 10 point. No, it's 12.9. Okay, let's check again. 12.9 is 87 Newton meters. Yeah, so that's where we gonna put that. And there is this one tooth that is missing. That isn't critical where it goes. But I think I will put it here where it's originally, and I think that will be fine. That's 87. That's actually quite tight, but yeah, let's swap on the rest of the stuff and put this back on the engine. These are M7 and I think these are 10.9 and the chart shows 25 Newton meters. Okay, last clean and I will throw that to the engine. Next I decided to mount the airbox. You could use the Z3 M54B dirty airbox that would be bolt on. But those are basically non-existent on used market and new ones cost a fortune. So I decided to go with the E60 airbox. It's actually quite big and free flowing and the muff in those is same as with the M52 engine. And there is also muff map available for those in MS45, so it seemed like a logical choice. Only downside is that it's actually quite big and requires quite a bit of modifying to fit there. But yeah, I got frustrated trying to make that fit, so I decided to move to the intake itself. I know that I told that I will use the N52 intake in this, but the intake modeling in the MS45 seems quite, well, interesting, so I wanted to start with the basic M54B30 intake that the MS45 actually has model for. And it also works as a good baseline to see if the N52 intake actually helps. So yeah, time to put all the parts on it and install the intake. Fuel filter. Euro M52 in E36 at least they use the normal circulating fuel system so that the pressure regulator is on the fuel rail. But M54 with MS43 and MS45 they will use the dead end system, so that's what I need to do here. So for that I have this E46 fuel filter. This should fit bolt on to E36. and this has the feed and return, but the pressure regulator is here, and then there's one line to the fuel rail, and that's it. So this is the dead end system. There's this kind of vacuum reference, but in case of MS43 and MS45, this is not actually vacuum from intake, this is straight to air, so this is like fixed 3.5 bar system. And of course, because this is fixed 3.5 bar system, there could be just hole for atmospheric pressure. But there's this line, this is like backup if the pressure regulator fails and there will be fuel coming out here. It will go to the line and then inside the engine to be burned there. So that's why this line is here. So this will need to go to the before the throttle flap in the intake system.
This is not the original fuel filter. The fuel comes from this hose, goes through the filter, and then to the engine. This is the return. This is then the new fuel filter. It will fit here directly. But because the return is here, I think I need to cut the hard line somewhere here to run the hose to the return. And then this section can be left as it is. Yeah, I think I have replaced this fuel filter pretty soon when I got this car, but yeah, that's like 16, 17 years ago, so yeah, this definitely needs to go now also. There seems to be some damage from the scraping, like here on the frame rail. These all need to be fixed at some point, but currently there's like minus 33 outside, so I really don't want to get this on the lift, so I will try to do what I can here under the car, on the garage. But yeah, I will swap out the filter and shorten this return line here, put hose, and let's see how this looks like it's finished. It's now done. This is the return hose here, goes to the filter return here. Unknowingly this pressure is on the other side, so this will go across like this, but this shouldn't touch, so it's fine. Filter is there, and then the fuel hose goes to the engine there, and this is the pressure reference line. This will go before the throttle body to the throttle elbow. But yeah, that's there. I need to put on the covers. Here should be plastic cover, but I have destroyed that so many times that I don't want to buy a new one. You can see the remains here. So once I have this on the lift, I will make some kind of stainless steel cover here to cover all this. And that should last much longer than the original plastic one.
Injectors from Injector, because where else? Well, not sponsored. So this kind of injectors, I think these are pretty much bolt-on to M54 intake. These are some Ferrari injectors, I don't remember exactly what. That's the part number. There's a couple of reasons that I did choose these. Again, these should be pretty much bolt-on to M54. Secondly, these are quite cheap. These were like 36 euros a piece from Injector. You can get these more cheaply from Aero Motors, for example, but those are not matched jets. And thirdly, these should be flowing enough. So I think these are like 370 cc's at 3 bar rated. It seems that these are like 380. Yeah, that's pretty good. All are like exactly 380 milliliters. So that's fine. And the stock pressure, it's like 3.5 bars, so it's 410 cc's, at least rated for these. That should be plenty enough for more than 300 horsepower with E85, at least on naturally aspirated use. So those are the three reasons I did choose these. There might be better or worse ones, I don't know. But these are fairly modern EV14 injectors. These have this long tip for M54 and everything, so this should be fine. Time for the throttle body. I did manage to drop this and crack the cover, so yeah, so I need a new one. But I need this to mock up everything in here, so I will use this for that. And once I get the new one, I will then swap this out. It should still work, so we can even try to start with this. But before I start to actually drive this car, I need to replace this one because all the moisture and dirt and everything will get into the insides of this, and that's no good. After the fuel system and last parts for the intake, we are left with only a few last things. Easiest ones being the few brackets for the dipstick and carbon canister, because those don't fit well anymore. After that I finished up the airbox. I can't really find any footage of that, but I did try many different things for it. And I settled for the X5 throttle elbow and custom aluminum tube connecting it and the E60 airbox. End result looks like something like this. Then it was time to remove the mechanical throttle pedal to make room for the drive-by-wire one. And I quickly realized that I need to also take off the carpet to do the swap. This is not a holder for the electric gas pedal, and I think this is for E39, but I don't think that matters. This is also a little bit broken, as you can see. I need to get new one, but I think we can try to make this fit with this one first. It should go like this, and what? It's totally crooked. You can see the bolt is there, the holder is there. It needs to go like that, so little bit backwards and in an angle. Is that original pedal like that? Yeah, that seems to be in angle like that. So I think I need to cut off that bracket and weld that on the correct spot for this. Damn it, I thought that this would be bolt on, but it isn't. Okay, I did cut off this bottom mount for this pedal assembly, and there's a bolt for that, so I think I will align this with the bolt and then just weld this back on the correct position. The car starts to be now ready for the first start, so we need the ECU to work, and this is the MS45.1 that I talked on the last episode. And this is just a random one from eBay, so let's first flash known good software for this. I think, well, these are from ZHP, but anyways, I will update the latest ZHP software for this with the WinKFP to be sure what software is in this one. And then we can continue with the EVS delete and that kind of things. But let's first plug this in like that. Then we go to the PC, to the WinKFP. So in here, let's select the comfort mode. That should be enough for this. Then we enter the JUSP. And the JUSP is actually the last, was that 6 or 7 digits of the part number, but for this case it's easy to check from the ms.x wiki. So we need the performance package and automatic. If you don't know about that, you can check that video on the corner. But anyways, we need this one, so the performance package and the automatic transmission, and this is the JUSP number. We'll put that there. Okay, now it works. I had wrong SPDate files, but now it should be okay. So, okay, done. Then I think we can just put this program and it should be fine. Okay, no idea what was wrong with the WinKFP, but I got it working, but of course I forgot to record that. But anyway, there's now correct software in here, so now we can use the MS45 Kickblast to delete the EVS there. So now let's delete the full or MPC. Okay, it's now done. let's save these here. Now we go to the flash section here. We need to identify this again. It's okay. Load binary. Full read. Then the MPC here. And now we can click the patch EVS and then write full, and then there's no EVS on the ECU after this. Now the engine should start, but of course we need to adjust the tune a little bit for this engine setup because it's not stock engine. So for that we go to the ROM reader. So here's first of all the stock tune. This engine is of course running E85. So here we have the stoichiometric air to fuel ratio, so AFR. So that's now 9.8 instead of 14.7. So that's something that you can adjust on the MS45.1, at least, or well, on all MS45s. Then after that, the injectors are different size. So these two parameters. These are basically same as recorded fuel in Megasquirt, for example. So those two are now like this. This is just calculated compared to the injector sizes in the M54 B30 and these injectors that I have here. So that should be enough to make the injectors work. Yeah, so these are the maps that I have adjusted. I'm not sure about those. But yeah, MUF sensor, that has been adjusted because I'm running the E60 MUF and not the E46 MUF, so that's different, so that's why that's like that. Then there's some limiters, I'm not sure about those. Yeah, there's some things to disable the secondary air pump and those kind of things. And then these are the ignition maps, so I think I took so I took like 5 or is it 5.5 degrees out of everywhere on the map. So because this is so high compression ratio, it should run lower ignition advance. So that's why I 5 degrees everywhere. So I have some kind of starting point. It should run fire well with this. And yeah, I think that's about it. That concerns now. So now with different AFR, injector size and ignition advance, this should run quite okay when we start this engine. So now we can flash in this tune with the MS45 kick flash, and that's it. So basically here and write the tune, and that's it. And then we can go start the engine for the first time. Joo. Joo.
Eikö lähde räättänyt?
Ei yritäkään. Kyllä toisen kerran. Mä uskon, että se sanoo mitään.
Ei nyt ei surahakka.
Ei se surahakka. So yeah, it didn't start even though everything was supposed to be okay. I also couldn't see what was wrong with it because the connection to the ECU failed every time we tried to start the engine. I did try to figure out why it didn't start, but also why the connection was lost to the ECU. One theory was that some control unit in the E36 was interfering the newer MS45 ECU, so I decided to run the separate K-line for the ECU, which is the way how some E39s are done from the factory. And soon as I did that and I tried to start the engine to see the live data and the fault codes, it suddenly fired up. So yeah, I don't have the actual first start on video because it was such a surprise. But here's the second start.
Käykö tuo kaikilla?
Yeah, it runs a bit rough and sounds really lame with the partly stock exhaust. I did take some logs to see what's wrong and it seemed that it runs too lean because of faulty muff. I did try another used muff I had, but that made it run way too rich. So I think this is the end of this video. In the next one I will get it running better and hopefully I will make proper exhaust for this.